Hey guys, what's going on? So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys a bit about my experience renting out the Z1000. As some of you may know, through my last video, I finally worked up the courage to put the Z1000 up for rent. I put it up for rent on two different platforms, one of them being Twisted Road, which I had used as a renter in the past, and the other one being Riders Share. And I'll talk a little bit about the difference between the two, which are basically minimum, and my experience. So as of today, I've rented the motorcycle out two different times. One time was just for not even a full day, it was only a couple hours. And the second time was for about 4 days. So basically how it works is you upload pictures of your bike, you follow all the steps that are asked of you, and you set a description of the bike. With that, it's up there in the marketplace. I priced mine according to kind of what I saw in the marketplace. And I even asked people why they chose my bike the two times they rented it. One of the dudes said that they're into getting a naked bike, and I was the quickest to reply. And the second dude was between mine and the Yamaha. He didn't specify what, I imagine it was either MT-09 or an MT-07. And he said there was just something about my bike that he just wanted to try it out. So I think in that case, it's pictures that really stole the show. You can see the pictures that I posted here. As you can see, I try to get all the details, try to get a nice background, make it look nice. A lot of these pictures are from Boston, which is funny now that I'm in Miami. Granted, I want you guys to keep in mind, the reason I'm doing this is because I kind of wanted to think about what it would look like if I scaled this, right? So in that first trip, I rented out the bike for a few hours, as I mentioned. And since I did it for 85 bucks per day, the website took their commission, and I ended up with $59 to let my bike go for an hour, like 4 hours. It's not a ton of money, but it's also pretty cool, you know, if your bike was gonna be sitting there anyways. That covered the cost of me getting an oil change. So, and then the second rental is when I really started to think, wow, this could really scale. As I mentioned, the second rental was for 4 days. With that being said, I made $215 for renting my bike out for 4 days. Now, was I a little nervous? Yeah, I was. But these platforms have insurance covered. They cover up to, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say either 19,000 or 30,000. I have to recheck. So a lot of us, if you're like anything like me, you have kind of a bike that's below your means in terms of price because, I don't know, I just like to buy bikes outright and take care of them. So in the two rentals that I did, I made $274, give or take. The amount that I paid for my motorcycle 3 years ago was $3,500. So essentially, I paid off 8% of my motorcycle in a total of 1 week because it was one weekend to the next. That's a pretty good return on investment. Usually you take a while before you even near that number. I did it in 1 week. Now, both of my listings came day of. In other words, people aren't, at least in my experience, they were both locals and they were just looking to try out bikes. The reason I think Miami is a good market is because it's just tourism all year round and good riding weather all year round. So I would like to get another bike in this fleet to put out to rent. When you think about the numbers, right, as I mentioned, 274, like that, finance a bike for under 200 a month. You rent it out for 1 week out of the month, it pays for itself. Even if you're not making a killing, you get to have a new bike. So I'm currently in the search actually for a new bike to add to this roster. Some of the bikes I'm looking at include some Harley baggers between the Road Glide and Street Glide, Ducati Scrambler, Ducati Monster, Triumphs, the Bonneville or Scrambler if possible. I would like perhaps to get a BMW R9T. And I would probably think, well, those are expensive bikes. And yeah, I hear you. I usually don't spend more than, I think I've never spent more than $4,000 on a motorcycle. But with these bikes, if you're financing them out or whatever you choose to do, and you can just get 2 weekends booked in the whole month, they pay for themselves. So it's gonna be good photos, it's gonna be being hella responsive, and it's gonna be pricing it accordingly. Now you can do the math out yourself, always count in insurance and things like that. But it's a good way to try out and own bikes for the low because the bikes are working for you. It's a good way to justify it with your partners if you know you have finances together and it's gonna be hard to sell them on getting another bike, but kind of show the numbers. So the difference between the two platforms, from what I'm seeing, it's pretty much nothing. All the bikes that you see on one, you're gonna see on the other. It's just a question of who's marketing more. It looks like Riders Share has been around for a bit longer, and so they have a bit bigger of a network, it seems. But I like having it up on both. And when I do book one-on-one, I can block it out on the other days. Some people look into automating this process. I'd look into that in the future as I start to expand. In the second rental, there was some damage to the bike, but the process was super easy. It was a really silly fall, but he caught the bike on the way down, but just scratched the stator cover. I already ordered a new piece and I was already reimbursed for that piece. So, that's nothing. You can request as much as you want, just be a decent person. Don't try to profit off, those kind of things. But at the same time, the time you're gonna put into it, installing it, etc. In my case, the install is gonna be really quick, so I just asked for exactly what it was. But in the future, I'd probably charge a little margin given the time that I'm gonna have to put into fixing it, especially depending on the fixing. As mentioned, both companies have insurance. Something a lot of people are asking me is like, well, what happens if one of the riders get hurt? And both platforms do have a liability insurance. If I'm not mistaken, Riders Share has a $1 million bodily injury and liability coverage. So that's gonna be huge moving forward because God forbid, I tell all my clients or rentees, when you're here, take the bike, be careful. At the end of the day, it's just a machine. I don't care what happens to it, but your life is precious. So I try my best to gauge the people, and I've had really responsible folks so far, but we know motorcycles are dangerous. Anything could happen, even if it's not their fault. And so it's good to know that you're protected in the event of anything like that. So definitely before you get on there, just read through the insurance policy. It's really easy to read through for both platforms if you're gonna go on them. And just see what you're covered for, what you're not covered for. Typical wear and tear, things like little scratches here and there, it's just normal, they're not gonna cover it. But if someone clearly drops the bike or anything like that, that's where photo documentation prior to the rides is key. So in short, guys, summarizing, kind of getting past the fear of letting go of my motorcycle. This process has opened my mind up to what's possible. Perhaps these dream bikes that I thought, maybe down the road I'd be able to access, maybe they'll come around a bit sooner because they can kind of pay for themselves. I'll keep you guys posted on the frequency. I don't have any future bookings yet. If the weekend comes around and I get another one, that's gonna be it's time to pull the trigger because that'll be 3 weekends in a row. And that's some good money. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know there's a lot of new folks here. If you like what you saw, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing. I'm currently located in Miami, Florida, but I'm always traveling, and all things automotive, especially the motorcycle, are things that I'm super passionate about. So if I could share this passion with you guys, please comment below what you guys think. Would you guys consider renting out your bikes, or is that just for you? And I don't blame you if you're not into it. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll connect soon. Peace.